All right, and welcome back to another episode of Multifamily Strategy Live. I'm Christian Osgood, your host, coming at you again live on every platform that I can reasonably go live on. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today, you're talking about an awesome project, super excited for. As most of you know, I am expanding to Texas, moving to Texas. We just went under contract today, so making an announcement on this. And as always, answering your questions on Q&A. Live. We're going to answer a couple questions that were done in the chat on Instagram. So every week I actually have a place for you to ask your questions and pre-post for a couple of preloaded questions. And then we'll go ahead and roll into the live questions on the call. If you're not there yet, join the Multifamily Strategy group through my Instagram at Christian Osgood. We'll see you there. Luke Devine, good to see you, my friend, in the chat. Here we roll. So Texas expanding. I'm going to be moving down to a little town, just a little north of Fort Worth, Texas. Very excited to be down there. House closes in June, so we are about a month away from finalizing that. Massive project. Meant a lot because I haven't spent any money through the entire course of business. Really barely paid myself through this entire adventure. So this is going to be awesome. Building my house, moving to Texas. I'm already at currently, or 69. If you count my house, 70 units in Texas currently, and we went under contract officially today. 176 units in Waco, Texas. This is a large deal for me. In fact, the largest deal I've ever been a part of. The upside on this deal. So we are actually picking this up with 42 vacancies, fully renovated building. You're always looking for problems that you're uniquely qualified to solve. On top of, I'm moving within a pretty comfortable driving distance of this property. 40 vacancies, I'm really good at filling vacancies. We've done some analysis, and it appears, we figured this out in due diligence for sure, but it appears that the vacancies are caused primarily by ownership doing a massive raise in rent a year ago, not backing off rent at all. And I don't think these properties demand the rent that they're trying to get for them. It's a family member running the entire portfolio. And in our analysis, we can make a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money, millions of dollars, if we can lease a majority of the units $200 less than they have been trying to lease them the last year. We come in notably under market rent. And when you find an opportunity where you can come in notably under market rent, and I mean like very significantly under market rent, and still make millions of dollars, that is a deal worth doing. We are working on this currently. Capital partners are lined up in the next 60 to, if we extend, 75 days. This one should come together. We are looking at purchasing this bad boy with conventional bank financing. If that tells you how much we're winning on price, it is by a lot. So fantastic deal. Purchase price is going to be right around $8 million. Very conservatively, if we hit our target within the first 2 years, should come in with a valuation with today's cap rates closer to 12.5, possibly $14 million valuation when stabilized, said and done. A mix of 1-beds and 2s, pretty even distribution, and excellent locations in Waco, where I actually have friends and family who currently live. In addition, picking up a large building. We're going to be, I'll be safely over 200 units just in Texas, outside of my Washington portfolio. When we pull this off on this particular project, I'm doing the thing again. I talk a lot about why I think people should not start their own property management companies. We've looked at managers out there, and I also own, in and around Stephenville, Texas. Management is pretty darn squishy there. There are a lot of properties that are not performing correctly, and it comes down to mismanagement. My abilities to manage, especially Washington State, where it's hard to manage, we found that in the markets that we are looking at investing in, it is very, very squishy. We can come in and absolutely dominate. So that's what we're going to do. So that is filed. That is starting. That is an official project that is happening. Get ready for Apex Asset Management, AAM, coming to Texas. We're going to be starting in Erath County. which is Stephenville. Start there, work our way down to Waco, and then back up 35 to Fort Worth. That's our expansion plan, and we are rolling now because apparently I like pain, so I'm going to do that project twice. If you're wondering, by the way, property management, it is a low thanks, low margin job. I think it only makes sense if you are an owner of a significant portion of what you manage and you build some great relationships for the people that you do manage. You can make some money at it, but the biggest thing that I found with property management is I can control market rents if I manage enough. I did it in Moses Lake. I'm going to be doing this in Texas. Same game, different strategies. So this will be fun. And bank debt. This is a lot of bank debt. So see how it comes together. We'll keep you guys updated. We've been under contract for hours. So due diligence starts soon. Just because you go into contract does not necessarily mean that you're closing on it, but it is in play on the field. 2 separate transactions, same seller, different LLCs, and away we go. All right. I'm going to dive into a couple of the questions, and then we'll jump right into the questions you have in the chat. So if you have questions on real estate, creative finance, managing, business, sale, I don't care. If you have questions, ask them in the chat because we're going to get going. And you can ask it on any platform: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, Twitter. I guess that's the same thing. Post your questions in here. We're going to get to them as we go. So questions from this week. One of my favorite ones, and I actually covered this briefly at our event this weekend, the Northwest Action Summit, which went phenomenally, by the way. Thank you for all those who attended. Troy, talking about you. But for everyone who was here at the event, thank you for making it. One of the questions that we got a chance to speak about at the VIP session was partnering, specifically partnering with your spouse. The question was, what does it look like to work with your spouse every day? I think some people really hate that. Some people really love it. I have found marriage, like every other partnership, communication's everything. My wife is my best friend. We hang out all the time. When she left teaching, it is awesome seeing her throughout the day. Midday, we are moving some cash around for some major projects. We're doing hotel conversions. We're fixing mobile home park with Cody Davis in Mason County, Washington. We're expanding in Texas. We're building a house in Texas. There's a ton of things happening. We got to take time today on a rare sunny day in Seattle to walk down to the grocery store together while we're talking about finances, how we're moving around money. I got updated on projects. It is so fun for me to be able to walk out of those doors to the right of me that you can't see, but walk out the door, see my wife working in the kitchen, make coffee together, occasionally grab lunch together. But that communication in business, I really believe this is true. We sat down, did the math. We make more money in renovation than I do on the acquisition and sales sides of the business. What Danny does in coordinating our contractors, actually finishing our projects, like she's the one who does the value add, and then my team leases it up. If you apples to apples look at what Christian Osgood does for the Osgood partnership and what Danny has done leaving kindergarten and teaching, she's the stronger partner. Like in the last $4 million that we made, I believe that Danny is directly responsible for 3. So husbands, if you want to be emasculated, put your wife in the business, because my wife definitely out earns me. She's the most valuable player in any of my companies and could not do this adventure without her. On top of that, just having a spouse who is on board for the adventure, it makes it so much easier. If I was alone doing this, there are times where it would be a lot harder, or I'd be really nervous about something, or I'd overthink something. Having that sounding board and that friend, absolutely amazing. Best thing that could have happened to me. If you're one of the people whose spouse isn't on board, you need to find a middle ground for how your business is going to look where you're both on board. Otherwise, I've seen people do business where their spouse is not on board, and it does not end well. Last question that I had pre-prepped from last week. Funny enough, ties right into what I was talking about, was starting property management. Is it better to be your own property manager? Should you self-manage it even if you're building a large portfolio? My opinion would be it's usually not worth it. If you're in a major metro market where there's good property managers, outsource that task. The only time that you should do anything really is if you're going to be the best at it. I think entrepreneurs get capped when they go, okay, I'm going to be the accountant. I'm going to be the face of the business. I'm going to bring on the sales. I'm going to do the hiring. I'm going to bring on the marketing. If you are everything, your ego is too big. You need to rethink that. On the podcast I just interviewed, this drops in like a month. I'm pre-filmed pretty far for the Multifamily Strategy podcast. But I just filmed with Edwin Carrion. He's a tens of millions of dollars earner. talking to him, I asked, how do I make it from the few million that I make now in my businesses? I'm fairly stuck where I'm like I'm not making a lot more money than I was prior. Like my business is where it's at. How do you move from seven figures to eight figures? And I loved his response, and I think this ties into my answer here pretty well. You move to seven to eight by letting go of your ego. He's like, if there is stuff that you think that you are the best at and you have to be doing it in your company, not true. There are probably one or two things that I am amazing at. He's like, if you want to move to $10 million, identify those things, and everything else, you need to trust other people to do it. Be a great leader of people, but be kind and drop your ego. And if you can drop your ego, you're going to go farther. I think that works on every level of business, except for if you're in your first, hey, I'm trying to get, from $10,000 a month to 100,000, or sorry, a year. If you're in the tens of thousands trying to get into the six figures, spend your time working on yourself. Actually be selfish. Build your skills, because your skills, the focus on yourself, you can earn into the six or low seven figures if you focus on yourself. If you want to expand past that, you have to be able to delegate things. This ties to my answer, because for property management, for most of us, being the best property manager in the world is not the thing that's going to make us the most money. I happen to have the piece where I already own a company. I have the team. I have a spouse who's really good at this. As a team, I actually make most of my money by renovating and out managing other people around me. It works for me. For most people, I would say don't do it. Find someone who's amazing at it, outsource it, and focus on what you're best at, which may be finding deals, building relationships, underwriting. There's so many different pieces, but focus on the parts that are best. Okay, let's get into the questions here from the live. Can there be a lien on title if it's in a lien theory state? Yes. Yes, there can. The way that these things work state by state, and I won't pretend to be an expert, because both states I invest in work the exact same. But generally speaking, the lien does go against directly on title. There are nuances in every state on how things are recording, whether it's lien theory, title theory. Look these up and talk to a lawyer in your market, because I've looked state to state, and even in lien theory states, I've seen some that actually operate closer to what I would consider title theory. It's kind of muddy waters. I don't want to pretend to be an expert of all 50 states. So talk to someone who's a professional in your market. But the short answer is yes. Liens show up on title, regardless of what theory your state operates in. How do you analyze a market for PMs? So that's going to be property managers. So I analyze a market simply by doing this. I'm sorry, it's my same answer for everything. Talk to the owners. This is why I focus on those owner meetings. It's everything. It's where I find my deals. It's where I get my relationships. It's where I find everyone. Whoever's managing all the other best players, that's the PM that you want to have. And when I came down to Texas, I met with every owner, and Caleb Hommel met with every owner in that market. And most of them either self-manage or use the same company. I met that company, and they are horrendously bad. In fact, the owner, who is the main operator of that company, has a first job and a second job, and the PM company is their third job. Their first one has them traveling all over the country. I don't want to throw that individual under the bus too hard. They have a very specific non-real estate related job that has them traveling all over the country. Nothing to do with property management. Then they're a broker, and that is their main source of income. They're a real estate agent. Third, they also run a property management company. They had rents. Market rent, by the way, where I'm at is $1,200 a month for 2 beds. They're renting them at $550 per unit. When I said that they should push, they had a new tenant on an unrenovated unit. And they're like, well, how much do you think we should do? I'm like, you should probably put 950. They're like, no way. We couldn't get 750. I bought that building from them. We leased it at 750 in 2 hours just to fill someone in there. Now we're starting to renovate units. We're not getting a whole lot of pushback at 950. That person was renting at $550. That is how squishy property management is in that area. So for me, that's how I evaluated it. I just went, who are the other players using? Then I met those people. I looked at the deals that those people manage, and I went, I can do better. I can do way better. So that's what we're going to do. Luke, what even does your agent do when you bring them a deal? I tell them what to put on a contract, and they put it on the contract. I mean, that's most of it. When I bring my agent a deal, they're only there to write it up. and it's usually for a nominal flat fee if I did all the work. If I'm negotiating the deal and I'm telling them the terms, if I do all the work, they're not getting paid a lot, and they're fine with that. I'm gonna give them a check. I'm like, here, fill in the blanks. You represent me and keep this thing on track with either yourself or your transaction coordinator. Just keep the deal on track. Make sure that I'm on top of the timelines. They're on my calendar, but be the broker. And if they do that, they get a nominal fee for representing me. If they bring me a deal, they get the full fees. I like paying brokers. I like paying people to help me. I found that when you continue to pay people, they tend to work harder and more consistently, and that's all good. Also from Luke. So is an agent even necessary for me buying my first deal? Yeah, you don't want to do the paperwork yourself for your first deal. You need someone who's available to write it up. So it could be, if you negotiate something with a seller, you can do it with a lawyer too, but don't be the one to write the contract. Have a professional write it. Now, I have bought one of my first deals. The seller was a broker who I've already done business with before. I've actually bought my first duplex from them on my fourth deal. I bought three duplexes where they were the owner. They wrote up the contract for it. I reviewed it. At the time, though, I was a licensed broker. I partnered with Cody Davis on that. He was a licensed broker. The seller was a licensed broker. There was no reason to do broker's fees. We had three brokers overall on the transaction overseeing things. But I still, at that time, did not write my own contracts for myself. Does strictly attorney write up the OA? I think yes. Technically, no. Anyone can write your OA for you. You can hire someone on Fiverr to write an OA. You can download a template off of Google. It's not the best way to do it, though. A lawyer has your best interest in mind. Have a lawyer who knows what they're doing, which means they own real estate too. Have them write up the contract for you. You're going to be so glad you did, because when you have a dispute, I promise if you have partners, you will have a dispute at some point. You're going to fall back on that OA. And if it is not bulletproof, you are going to be in a world for a world of pain. I am going through something legal right now where we are right. It's 3v1. I have one partner who we tripled his money, and he wants us to pay him for every month that the building was vacant, because apparently he thinks that's how real estate works. He also never did any of his roles he committed to in the operating agreement. And he's saying, oh, well, I thought your part was sweat equity. We have even money in the deal. Sweat equity would be what we call an imbalance. Because I have a fantastic operating agreement, our roles were laid out there. I can show right here. You signed here, 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 and here that you would do these things, and you didn't. You signed here, 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 and here on my management agreement that outlined our obligations, and we fulfilled all of them. Great legal and operating agreements and management agreements protects you. Do not skimp on that step ever. You play this game long enough, someone will come after you for money. You should be able to defend. From Kevin. How would you leverage a relationship with an owner who's not selling anything? None of my owners are selling anything. I don't meet with sellers. I meet with owners. So I leverage. I don't really think of it as leverage. I'm building a relationship. I mean, sometimes it's beneficial to me. Sometimes it's beneficial to them. I'm not about leveraging relationships. It's just about having them. And then when there's a player, just like think of like your high school friends. Like no one owes each other anything. You're not friends to try to score some benefit. You just don't know each other. And sometimes you guys bring tremendous value to each other, but I don't worry about what I'm getting out of the relationships. If they're not a seller, they at some point they know what I'm doing. They might have advice on my portfolio. They might connect me to a lawyer who's amazing, a property manager who's amazing, a future capital partner. They oftentimes they end up funding my deals. I find a deal that's insane, and they're like, "Dude, I'm liquid. I wish I bought that." I'm like, "Huh? You use a partner. What would it look like if you funded it? I ran it, took the opportunity. Great way to run it. But they could end up being partners, lenders, sources of advice. There's so much that comes out of the owner meeting. But if you go after it as I'm looking for sellers, you will only find the occasional deal, and you'll buy a couple deals. If you focus on the long-term relationship, I do have people who nothing came out of it for a couple of years, and then they called and they said, "Hey, I'm actually change of plans. I'm done with real estate. I'm out of the game. I will seller finance you my entire portfolio, even zero down. Like I don't need a down payment. We'll seller finance the whole thing. I would rather just leave it to you and take my money and turn it into payments and wash my hands clean." That's happened to me because I had a relationship. If I came and asked them for a transaction, they would have sold me a duplex, and that's as far as I ever would have got. The relationship's worth more. What note servicing company do you use? I have a couple. The main one that I use is called OPT, Olympic something transactions. Um, Gosh, I don't even remember what they're called. They service a majority of my notes. Actually, for a long time, Wheatland Bank in Central Washington serviced all my notes. Then they sold their note servicing division, and the company they sold it to, OPT, I actually like them better, so I actually continue to win my business. A few of my notes are serviced directly through my law office that I use, Goldstein Law in Tacoma. Do not call them to unless you're specifically in like an investor in Olympia, Washington, because they are very, 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 very busy, especially with me. So don't blow up that office because they are not the one for you, most likely, because they are not taking on new clients. However, they do service some of my more technical notes. If I have large partnerships, I like to have my legal team, since they have a note servicing division, handle all of that. Just keeps it clean. Okay, Edmund has a scenario for us. Assume a property is at 80% occupancy. Would you prefer to raise capital for the capex and reserves or do the Hummel hack? I know the answer to this. Hummel hack is awesome. I would still prefer to raise the capital for the capex and reserves if I had to do either or. What I would do, because cash flow is king and we still have a project to do, raise the money for the capex and the reserves, and then ask the owner for the Hummel hack. Go, hey, what if I didn't pay? What if our payments didn't start, didn't accrue? We just write the note, you get the down payment. So I give you a big old chunk of cash, and the payments actually start accruing interest on month 4, month 6, somewhere in there. If I have the capex and the reserves, I would still rather cash flow day one, but you always raise the amount of money you need. What if I have it was 80% occupied, but I have a major project come up, or one of the tenants moves out, one of the tenants passes away, out of your control. The Hummel hack gives you time so that you cash flow until you finish that project, that capex piece, get the rent stabilized, and then you have positive cash flow. The Hummel hack buys you time. The capital raise gets you your reserves you need to actually do the thing. And if you end up saving extra money because you did cash flow and you didn't go over budget, you just have more money to do your deal. So the right answer is ask for both. If it's one or the other, having the money in hand when you start your project is far more important. Troy, responding to my earlier comment, Troy was one of the people who actually came out to the Northwest Action Summit. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought, and I'm obviously very biased, I thought we knocked that out of the park. For that was my first time running a larger than 100-person event ever, and I really loved it. That was a cool experience. We will definitely do it again. So everyone who missed it this year, you have it from Troy. Be there next year. Also, I'm gonna start running events. As soon as I get to Texas, I'm gonna start running a couple events, so be prepped. And we have 100, it looks like 176 unit project, assuming that due diligence goes as planned. Uh, we're gonna have plenty of rentals down there, so I'll be all over Texas when I hit that market. I want to build the relationships so for all you Texans or anyone with an easy drive or flight to Texas, see you guys in Dallas. I'm not sure how to to hear when you call an owner and they ask how you got their number. Do you just plain say I got it from Google, or is there a better way to phrase it? Yeah, basically, I say I found it online. I was looking for the owner of this property here. You've done this is a building that's been super interesting to me because I don't own anything like this. Great conversation starter. If they take that as you want to buy it, for me, this has always been true, even today. Like, I don't know how I would buy that. I don't have the money. I certainly don't have enough money for an $8 million transaction. I have a capital partner coming in for that. I didn't call this owner trying to buy 176 units. That'd be insane. How would I do that? I have no plan for that until it was proposed and we put together deal, then debt, then equity. I had no idea. And the price that we're going on this one, by the way, I'm winning on price on everything this year. Last year, everyone wanted the 2022 price. I think now everyone's accepted. Rates are higher. Valuations have changed. We're winning on price a lot this year, which means I'm getting stuff in bank debt, like just conventional, standard, boring debt, left and right. But it's a good time this year to win on price. I am also looking at doing a seller finance deal in Temple, Texas. That is also very significantly sized. So still doing creative finance, but man, if you went on price, you don't always need to. But yeah, if they're asking how the number comes in, like how you've got their number, I blow right through that and just talk about, why I'm calling. So it's like, where'd you get my number? I've did a little research on Google, looked online, been trying to find the owner of this for a couple hours now. Finally ran into you. I had a question for you. Basic things, but just keep the momentum going. If people get awkward about that question, or even worse, over explain something as boring as where you found a number, you will lose the attention of the person you're talking to as simply as possible. For stupid objections like, where did you get my number? I'm not selling. Blow through that as clearly and elegantly as you possibly can. Give it no credibility at all. Just, where'd you find my number? Found it online, trying to find you for this building. I'm not selling. I'm not buying. That's perfect. Couldn't buy it if I wanted to. Don't have the money. This is the reason I'm calling. Get right back. Always pull them back to the point of the call. I want to learn something from you. And then let's meet. Let's get coffee, because that's where you start to build a relationship. The one and only Shannon. Good to see you here, man. Shannon, by the way, is part of Multifamily Strategy. It is an honor to have in our group. What this guy adds to our community. Shannon, love you, brother. Christian, how long does the Section 8 approval take to get your project approved and payments start to flow in? Asking for a friend. So, there's a weird wink. I was trying to do the wink and I double twitched. How long does Section 8 approval take? It's very quick. You don't get like a pre-approved, like, hey, you're a landlord, you're now approved. You put your unit up for lease. They will go ahead and reach out to you. Most often, they reach out to you and go, hey, we'd like to place this. They do an inspection. It usually takes me about a week for them to do their inspection, say, yep, we passed, good to go. If there's renovations that need to happen, for the most part, what they've done is they go ahead and sign the lease conditional on these things being done, and I get X amount of time to finish out the unit and get it done. So you don't like pre-lease it or get pre-approved. I've seen some markets where people actually can do that. It's not even offered to me where I invest in Texas and Washington. They do the standard process. Some places will give you a little preferential treatment and kind of pre-inspect for you. But most housing authorities, it's just another person who could lease your space. They just have a couple more guidelines at a week of time to actually do it. But then once they get in there, make sure you are ready to go. That Section 8 handbook, see if I have it on me. I do not, but it's online. I use it for my renovation guidelines. The actual Section 8 owner's handbook is a publicly available document that is national. I follow their renovation standards on every single build so that I know for a fact if I want to use Section 8, we're definitely going to qualify. All right, Eric. I'm looking at a dual strategy to meet owners, calling and sending a letter. How do you feel about an intro letter as a second prong method? Lots of bad numbers to work through. So this is interesting. This actually came up at the old Northwest Action Summit. My good friend Jesse Lee, who was a speaker there, and funny enough, I wasn't the one who booked him as a speaker, as my partner at the event. Jesse Lee has an office that is about 7 minutes from my house. I know this guy very well. Him and his partner, Patrick Choi, are incredibly aggressive with letters. They hire people to handwrite letters. They send these things out literally by the pallet. I've actually watched them bring in their shipping pallets to send out thousands and thousands and thousands of handwritten letters. It's worked very well for him. He does a lot of the single family stuff, a lot of duplexes, but that's his target. And he goes after houses. He has these really personable letters. He's a better one to ask. Here's what I have found for me. I've been in sales for a long time. I don't like doing the cold calls. So I call 2 people a day, every day. That I can do that. That takes no time. If they pick up or not, doesn't matter to me. I do my 2 dials. No one answered. Cool. Done for the day. On average, 3 or 4 people will pick up throughout the week. 1 or 2 of them will book a meeting with me. I'll meet 75 to 100 owners a year for coffee. I drink a ton of caffeine and I make a few calls and talk to a few people. That is the sales funnel that I want. That's the work-life balance that I want. So I don't do any other prongs to that approach. I'm just really good at getting in front of people and really good at getting the yes. Play to your strengths. If you're a good mass marketer, that letter campaign has worked phenomenally for Jesse. Phenomenally. If you noticed, he is the one who showed up in the, if you guys saw the Rolls Royce outside, that's Jesse's car because he needed it for a write-off against all of his active income. because he makes a lot of money from his mailers. That's why he bought it. He literally had he called me on this. He's like, dude, I think I'm going to buy the Rolls Royce. I was like, why on earth would you do that? He's like, my tax guy called. He said, either I have to pay the government or I have to buy myself a nice car. So that was his option. He gets to do that because the mailer strategy worked really well for him. So find what works for you. There's a right strategy for everyone. I don't want to do mailers. I don't want to manage the employees that do that. It's not an arm of my business that I want. And I haven't needed it to buy hundreds of units. Absolutely. If that's something that you want to do, my 1000% endorsement. Come up with the method that works best for you. I would say when the people reach out to you, the extent that you can actually physically get in front of them and book that coffee meeting, I think you'll go a lot farther than other people. Also, I wouldn't reach out for a coffee meeting via letter though. If you're doing the letter, I actually would be transactional. Ask people for, are you interested in selling your house? Or I wouldn't try to send a letter for a relationship. Send letters for transaction, phone calls for relationships. And when someone responds to your letter, try to book the meeting. And now you have a relationship with someone who's interested in selling. That's how I would run that, by the way. Troy is answering Shannon's question there. But yeah, it is state specific. I found that Washington, Texas, surprisingly, because they're so different. Housing authorities have been very similar, except Washington, their capital management is egregious. This is government backed money. People love Section 8. Government backed guaranteed checks. They gave away all their money and more on their COVID relief plan. They actually were so aggressive with trying to give away free money to people who didn't want to have a job. Like a lot of them, I had people who actually had jobs, just lied about their stuff and got COVID relief. Like I've seen it all. But they were so aggressive at giving people free money. They gave away more than they had. They started paying me with promissory notes. The government literally, it's a literal IOU that just says, we are experiencing some cash flow problems. We are still good for this. We will pay you. And if you try to evict our tenant, you can talk to our lawyers, to whom I called. And I was like, you guys are paying late fees on this. They're like, well, there's no late fees in the lease. I'm like, yeah, but rent's due. I'm going to evict you, or we're going to add late fees to this. And so now Grant County Housing, they owed a ton of money in late fees, because they thought that they could just pay people freely with an IOU and they'll get back to me when they get more money. Ridiculous. So every state is a little different. However, the approval process for me has been a very, very, very quick turnaround. No pre-approvals. The restrictions that I had in Washington was that I'm not allowed to market only to Section 8. I can't say I'm renting this to Section 8. I can make it available and I can price it so that it's within standards. So all of my listings say in big bold font, Section 8 encouraged to apply, or Section 8 ready, so that they know, hey, this is a good unit for me to apply to. And then their Section 8 rep will go ahead and analyze it and let us know if they're going to qualify through their program. Usually takes about a week. For those, but Shannon brings up a good point. A lot of these questions, not all of them by any means, but a lot of them are from people who actually are in our weekly mentorship calls. For those who don't know Luke, who don't know Shannon, these are the guys who are like actively in these questions. Eric, these are all people who are actively involved in the community. They're also people who are really worth knowing. I'm going to go ahead and post a link here on YouTube. So if you're watching on Instagram, you're the only one who won't see this. So hop over to Multifamily Strategy, the YouTube channel. I'm going to go find a link for the Facebook group. I'm going to post it in the chat here because it is worth joining. So excuse me while I jump to the other screen, but we actually have a community here on Facebook where everyone can connect. We have getting more lenders in there, but we have a lot of people talking about their deals, networking nationally on Multifamily Strategy. I really want to see you guys in there. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up for you here in just about 30 seconds as I go ahead and find my link. Invite only. But if you're here, it's a place where you can find all of these people and connect with them outside of this, which we strongly encourage. Share. Copy link. My multitasking skills are low. I'll give everyone that. There we go. My gift to you. If you want to join a private community of real estate investors who love creative finance, but are all about taking out the deal with or without creative finance. Find the deal, find the debt, find the equity. Congratulations, you're invited to the private group. Connect with guys like Shannon because Shannon's a freak at he is a freak at connecting people and putting together community. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone in the mentorship calls. If you're not there, you're invited on multifamily strategy. If you want to just hang out here and learn on the lives, I will give as much as I can for free. And if you want to take the next step, I'm there for you too. Troy, hey Christian, when looking for a good real estate lawyer in a new market, or sorry, you are looking for a new real estate lawyer in a new market. So you suggest waiting to network with owners to find a good real estate lawyer or find one on your own. If you need one, go find one. Don't wait. If you're like, hey, I need a real estate lawyer for something right now, I snagged one in Texas. His name's Theo, and he's okay. He did exactly what I needed him to do when I needed him. As I started networking with owners, turns out the guy who I bought from, first deal that because I bought into deals in Texas, but the first acquisition I had in Texas, the seller owned a law firm. I didn't want to use his law firm for the transaction. That seems like a conflict of interest to me. His son took over the firm. I met his son. Caleb met his son. We gave them a shot of trying to fix a contract that another lawyer screwed up, and they fixed it in it was like 17 minutes. It was incredible. I then passed a little bit more business to them, and every time I use them, everything works out perfectly. That came from an owner meeting. The guy I bought it from owns the firm. His son runs it, and I love that firm in Texas. Anyone who's doing a deal in Texas, I always refer to them now. I don't know if they are equally good everywhere in Texas. They're really good in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the Stephenville area. But I'm giving them a shot at fixing some stuff for me down on the border town. So you're someone like Shannon. I know he's doing a deal down there. The Allen firm based out of Stephenville. You would never guess little town like that has an amazing law firm, but everyone on their staff has been incredible. And you know what? They hit that box. I've bought buildings from them. These are guys who think like owners because they own, like, the family that owns that firm owns a lot of businesses and a lot of real estate. The way that they think is different from a lawyer who went to school just to be a lawyer. They think like owners, and it makes a difference. Yeah, Shannon brings that up. Eric, Luke, the whole family's here. Troy, so how do you suggest going about finding one, and how do you interview them? So when we get to a lawyer, I give them something small and I see how they handle it. How fast are they? What do they bill? And are they competent? When I have something challenging, like the last lawyer lost my business because I gave him something that was kind of challenging, and he referred me to someone. And the next time I had something that was kind of challenging, and this wasn't even that bad, I knew how to do it, and I'm not a lawyer. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to need to bring in a tax professional lawyer." I'm like, "No, you don't. This is like lawyering 101." Lost my business because I just gave him progressively more complicated things. And when he kept referring it to other people, that told me one thing: he's not my guy. This is sorry for jumping around, guys. The comments don't always come in order of how I'm talking. Northwest Action Summit. I'm running again next year. My Kurt and Jennifer, who are the co-host of that event, they're looking at possibly doing a hotel, same street, different hotel. I'm really pushing for that same hotel. I loved that venue. That venue was amazing. It was better than I thought it would be, and I had very high expectations. We'll be running it again. I'm also going to start doing some meetups in Texas very soon. I'm very excited to make Texas home, but guess what? I don't have a lot of friends in Texas. I've been to Texas 11 times now. I love it, but my plan to meet people is we already have community down there. I'm going to just start inviting people to hang out. We're going to start meeting up more regularly. We're going to get some multifamily strategy community going on. I'm really excited for it. Really excited for it. So, yes, I'll be down for all sorts of Texas things, but we'll be still doing PNW Action Summit, and I still have a lot of business in Washington. No way around it. Daylon, good to see you here, my friend. Have you ever experienced a situation where the approval of Section 8 rent turned out to be higher than the prevailing market rent? Yes. Many times, actually. I'll run into a thing where it's like, hey, we have a nicer unit or we have a bigger unit than what you're used to renting because of the extra square footage or the extra. As long as you have a reason for it, they'll usually approve it. Washington State, I think that their Section 8 market rent, I think it's actually too high. It's above market rent, which is crazy. And you'll see that in a lot of places. Actually, they might actually get a little aggressive on the rent some places. I have still they're like, "We think we might be a little bit low, so if you wanna do a 6-month," like, it's annual leases is what they usually need, but they're like, "If it just means we gotta place someone, you can do a 6-month lease, and if you do what we all agree upon is a reasonable rent increase, we'll go ahead and approve it." So we can actually increase rents above Section 8 minimums or sorry, maximums, within 6 months as long as it is quote unquote "reasonable." I've never pushed reasonable, but I've pushed several of them to $100 over what their market rent is. Didn't bat an eye. Not a problem at all. They just said, "Yep, sure, we'll pay it." Emmanuel, would you say the Section 8 handbook helps you keep from going overboard on renovations? No, they probably put you overboard on renovations. There's more things in there than one would really ever need to do. But I like that. I like knowing that everything's done to a level that is beyond what is necessary because very few things fail. The things that I got out of it as a beginning investor that I did not do correctly before, and these may feel obvious to some, but it's like exterior motion sensor lighting, like having adequate lighting so people don't fall in the dark. Huge safety thing. I just I don't know what it is. I've never thought about what is the tenant experience after 10 p.m. when it's bedtime and they're walking outside to get to their car. I am always thinking like, what does the building look like? What is the heating like in there? Are the windows nice? Do the units feel nice on the inside and out? I didn't think about that. That they need that. So adequate exterior lighting. That was something we needed. Putting GFCIs in the right spot. I usually do that because it's a safety thing, but I didn't realize how many places you actually want to put those and exactly how far they should be from a kitchen. Those little things, it lays them all out and it helps you just on a safety and maintenance level. You clear a lot of things that can be problems later, especially on the safety end, just by following the guidebook. Is it excessive? Absolutely. Some of the stuff they want is a little ridiculous, but if you do it, your units are approved, you have more people you can rent to, and you're going to spend less in capex on little stupid stuff because they make you fix it all. Oh, Eric actually connected with Patrick Choi, my buddy Jesse Lee's partner, working for meeting them as a remote market. They are they're great people. Jesse and Patrick are they do not follow the rules as far as like laws are concerned with property management. I've worked with them for a long time. Jesse's been a speaker at a few events that I've been at. Great people. They're funny. They're actually one of the funniest people online. They have a Facebook group. I think it's called Meme Dynasty something. It's a Washington State investors group. They're very funny, very dry humor, but very funny. They're great to work with. If you have a chance to connect with them, they have run a very profitable business and they have a lot of fun doing it. They're great people to know. By the way, I put this in the comments, but I'm just throwing this up here again. If you guys want to join the Facebook group, that is a link. It is a private group, but you can go ahead and snag that link, join the Facebook group, join the community. We are really pushing this year to get more people involved in their local markets. There's Here's the mission of multifamily strategy. I have the podcast to connect you to as many owner meetings as possible. I am doing that 2 a week, every week, owner meetings online, record the conversation. I'm trying to pull out the things they do best and the stupid taxes that they have paid so that you don't have to pay that tax doing your deal. Multifamily Strategy Podcast is all about that. The community thing is let's connect people on two core principles. Deal debt equity. Find the freaking deal first and then find the money. And if we can do that within the page, all three parts of that, awesome. The other part is how to buy it, how to never lose it. Like that. If you can answer those two questions, yes, buy the deal. We go over it in depth in the mentorship, but like I want to bring that simplicity to real estate to every single community in the US because we know how to do this. So join that, connect with people in your local market, connect there. I am putting a ton of resources into this. So I would love to have everyone who already contributes to the live. If you want to carry the conversation back over there, I just consider that to be Multifamily Strategy Live after hours. Join that group. Love to have you guys there. Troy, do you pick and choose to call owners based on how many units they own, or just no matter what? No matter what, if you own multifamily in my market, I'll meet with you. I don't care if you own a duplex or not. I'm generally calling on people who own 20 or more units, so that's what I'm looking for. But if I run into someone, they're like, "Oh, dude, I have 2 triplexes in this market." Absolutely, let's get coffee. Maybe I have something that I can give to them. Maybe they have a relationship that I don't know where it's ever going to go, but I know that I like coffee and I like talking about real estate. I do know that. So I have no downside in meeting with someone of any size. My metric, though, is if you own multifamily in my market, I want to know you and I want you to know who I am and what I'm trying to build. And I want to know the same things about you. And if I store all that right here, a deal comes up. I know the players, I know the moving pieces, I know who wants what to happen. It is so valuable. It's how we do as many deals as we do. I really don't prospect very much. I'm serious. I look at active listings. I tell people you should do this multiple times a week, but I personally, once every other week, look through the active listings for the stuff that I want. Just take a quick pass through them. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I call the brokers on them. I get some information. Easy. My 2 phone calls a day, answer or not, 2 dials a day. That's worked for me. The reason it's worked is because I'm not picky. I just meet the people and I know everyone in my market. There's almost no multifamily building now over 4 years of doing this. You can point at almost any building and I know who owns it, the LLC, what they're trying to do, what other states they own in. I know everything about everyone. It took me 4 years, but you can't point to a property in Moses Lake that has 2 or more units where I don't know who owns it. I think it's powerful. Xavier, how do you raise private capitals from friends, family, cold private investor list? Never from friends and family. The only deal I ever had with a friend, it was actually one of the groomsmen at my wedding. He's the one who I'm going to be battling in court later this month because he thinks that I owe him money for tripling his money and managing the property at a discount because we had a vacancy for a few months while under renovation. That's a friend. That ruined our friendship. His father, family friend, grew up 4 houses down from them. He was the lender. He started a lot of these problems by trying to breach contract, and we had to correct him, and it threw off the entire relationship. Lost a friend over a tiny bit of money where we all tripled our money. And I'm going to lose a friend over it because he wanted more than triple and wanted some other outcome. His father made $1 million of cash on that deal. They're pissed at me. It blows my mind that that's how that went down. And I'm sure there's always 2 sides to everything. So we'll hear their side now in official format in court. But I would never raise money or do business with friends or family. I absolutely don't do it. Never worth it. Never heard it ending well. Here's what I learned. Money will change your relationships. It could make them better. It could make them worse. I've seen both. Usually it's worse. But if you introduce money into the relationship, the only thing that you know will happen, absolutely, is the relationship will change. If it's a relationship that you don't want to change, don't borrow money from. As far as how we actually do this, a lot of it is the owners that I've already met with in the market. If you own a lot of real estate for a long period of time, you usually have a ton of money. They're very often my private lenders or capital partners. You also meet people at meetups. You meet people when you're making the phone calls, and everyone knows someone. When I did my first capital raise, I never raised money. I had no idea how to do it. Like, no idea how to do it. I was working for the property management arm of a brokerage. I went to the brokers and I asked 3 of them, do you guys have any clients who are buying fourplexes who are trying to buy bigger buildings but don't have a deal? That was the best I could think of. Way too specific, but I got 4 names and 3 of them each put in $100,000 to fund my deal. $300,000 down, $2 million deal. Cody and I own it without any partners today. We bought out all the partners. We bought for $2 million with a $300,000 raise for the down payment. Building is worth $4.1 million today. We did that just because it was like, okay, deal first. Then we're going to figure out the money. We made our first call 2 weeks before close. We closed on time with no extension. So you do it by finding people who know people. People in real estate, it's the relationship game. I don't know why. I'm not kidding. Everyone online says like relationships matter. If you take any other course, any other mentorship, you watch these stupid gurus on YouTube, all of them go have systems, have people, have cold callers, only do mailers, only make 100 dials a day on a multi-dialer. They're all about building these systems where they don't do anything. My thing is just get coffee and meet humans. And to be fair, we're outpacing acquisition for a majority of people who have all these other methods. I mean, by a lot. End of this year, I'll probably be at 500 to 700 rental units. Unit count doesn't matter, by the way. But I do want to point out for velocity, people who are chasing that number aren't catching it. And I'm trying less than an eighth of the effort and spending way less money in marketing. Relationships are everything. That is where your money comes from. That is the capital. Emmanuel, when you left your W-2, did you pick up any side hustles to stay in your house when diving into real estate investing? No, no, I did not. I dove right in. My wife was still a teacher, and the mission was to retire from teaching. In Washington State, she makes $80,000 as a teacher with a master's degree. That is about as far as you go in teaching. She has 5 years of tenure, master's degree, $80,000. I live in Seattle. It's just ludicrously expensive to live in. And we would slowly lose a little bit of money every month for cost of living. Cody and I, in the process of investing, had one cash out refi where we paid ourselves $150,000 in the first 2 years. That was from a real estate deal, no side hustle. I left my job with $2,000 a month of cash flow, my wife as a teacher, and a belief the business was going to work. Is that a best practice? I don't think so. Probably not for most people. For me, it definitely was. I was like, I am not doing what I want to do. My pain point is urgent. I'm committed to being successful in real estate. I burned the ships immediately. I'm like, nope, quit my job, not going back. Don't have income. Doesn't matter. I'm going to find it. My side hustle, if I picked up a side hustle, it would have been a distraction. If you leave your job today and you're trying to build real estate, I think the last thing you should do is pick up a new side hustle. If you're going to do something, do it 100%. This is from someone who has had businesses fail before. I've been through everything that you would go through in business. I understand having capital losses. I understand making wrong decisions. I've been out of money multiple times through this experience. Great deals, find great money. If you want to be a real estate investor, focus all of your attention on being a real estate investor. That worked for me. And, a few years of trying, some trial and error. We made millions of dollars doing that. We would not have done that. Like, I absolutely would not have done that if I split my focus between multiple things. Biggest mistake I made, focusing my real estate on hospitality and buying that resort project distracted me from everything else. That was the closest thing to a side hustle. Huge error. Course correcting now. Just brought on a new manager of the Robinhood this week. So I have someone else who is now taking off all the things that I suck at, and they are making it better. And they're already making huge steps towards taking that stress off me and bringing it on. But it cost me a lot of money to bring them on. That venue was awesome. Yeah. I'm so happy with that event. I won't keep talking about it, but so happy with that. First multifamily strategy event, not at the Robinhood. And it was much bigger. Very nice hotel. I'm very happy with how that went. Jesse Lee saying the same thing. Just talk to people. You'll find all the successful investors, at least all the ones that I've met, they're all relationship based. The people who are transactional or who are doing all your different methods of like, hey, we're just pulling lists and we're mass marketing. They're either marketers who are not real estate guys, or they're trying to sell you a course. That is the two main things. It's an online guru who is a marketer, not a real estate person who just happens to be making their money marketing into real estate, or it is a wholesaler or a broker or a syndicator, someone who has either no or low equity in their deals. Those are the people who focus on the high volume sales jobby strategies. Any investor who owns a lot of real estate or has played this game for a while, They all do it just through relationships, through coffee meetings, through being around other investors. Mr. Dillon, good to see you here, man. We usually see you earlier in the chat. I'm glad you joined. Do cities have to agree on your plans to do a motel conversion? Yes and no. I'm actually going to go into this. This is a good one. What does the process of getting it accepted and pulling permits look like in Texas? In Texas, it is easier because Texas has many areas that just straight up don't have zoning, which is insane. Logic being, there's a ton of land and it's all flat, and who cares? They have a lot of loose zoning in areas. So they have some areas where, like, yeah, you can build mostly whatever you want, but it still has to be approved and it has to make sense. They still have zoning, but some of it's very open zoning, much easier than Washington. Washington, where a lot of it's land restricted, especially near the water or in the mountains, like you can't build everywhere. They're very, very, very particular on what you can build. I have done 2 motel conversions. One I sold I seller financed to the partner, so we got partway through, had an insurance issue, and immediately just changed course, profitably rolled out of that. So got my first seller financed where I'm the seller financed my equity to the partner, and away we go. That one worked. They said on that one that rezone was an option. On my other one, city said, no way. If you rezone to multifamily, and this thing's way off the road and has a pool and a whole bunch of other stuff, like it is a motel on the main road. They're like, nope, you have to convert the entire bottom to retail. I'm like, well, the setbacks wouldn't make any sense. People are going to pull into a motel and like drive around the pool. They're like, no, what we want for you to do multifamily conversion is we would just need you to just really quick. If you can move everyone out, knock down the building, and then build a new building with high ceilings and sprinkler systems with ground floor retail, we would love to get you that permit. Also, we need you to repave so we can charge you more for stormwater runoff. I'm like, okay, good. So that's only, a $4 million project for what they wanted to pull off. Not going to happen in a million years. It's a hotel. Is there a maximum length that you can stay in a hotel? No. My hotel guests have annual leases, and we call them guests. And when the city called me to say, hey, we would like you to rezone it, we heard you have long-term leases. That's exactly what I said. I hopped into City Hall and I said, how long do you think a guest can stay here? They're like, well, there's no limits. I'm like, good. What's the problem? They didn't have an answer. There are 14 other owners in Moses Lake who have hotels that are run as multifamily on annual leases. Cities never bothered them. And so I brought that up, and I'm like, if you try to challenge me on this, I've already talked to all the other owners. Every single one of us will sue you. And they're like, oh, well, no, that's fine. You can do whatever you want with the hotel. Know your city for this. Know what you can get away with. But legally, there is no maximum stay for a hotel. And in Washington State, the transient rental tax, I read the rules. Transient rentals, this is the hotel tax in Washington State. It's a 10% fee. It is for any guest that's staying less than 30 days. So the city tried to reach out and charge a bonus 10% of my income. And I said, look, point to me one person who fits the transient rental guidelines that you have set forth here. They got back to me and said, sorry, you're right. So if you're going to do conversions or going to play with zoning, know that is where the cities suck, and they generally are not. Most of them are not very business friendly. It's rare. So if you're going to battle them, make sure that you're right. And if you're doing something creative like a motel conversion, or in my case, running a motel like multifamily so that I stabilize income and I'm profitable, if you're going to do these projects, know the other owners, know what the city wants to do, and know what your actual rights are. Because going into this, the city did actually try to get me twice on like, we don't want this. I'm like, I don't care what you want. I spent $400,000 renovating this building. It was ugly. If you guys have seen the pictures on my Instagram, almost done painting it. It was gray, brown, tan, and red. Different places on different areas. I now went dark blue, painted all the unfinished wood, redid a bunch of siding, added a new roof, gutters. The rest of the building is like this I really like it. It's really nice light beige. So it's beige, blue, black railings, painted and sealed all of the concrete, replaced all of the lightings. We had a very ugly building that we just made beautiful. And then we kicked out 3 people doing drugs and now, or like selling drugs. Now we have no drugs on the campus. And the city's like, we have all these problems. They can go pound sand. We're making the city better. People love us. except for our good friend Amy at the city, because she's not happy with anything that doesn't cost more money. Amy, calling you out. Dylan, how did Caleb find his first deal? Caleb found his first deal by calling like 1,000 brokers, and it was painful, and I would not have done it that way. He found his second deal, calling those brokers. He found his third deal, calling those brokers. His fourth deal, he called an owner directly. He put together the best deal he has ever put together, the second best deal ever done in our mentorship group. And it was a stellar, stellar opportunity. He then moved into that deal, and while house hacking it, cash flowed $5,000 a month. His other three deals, cash flow. So, yeah, if Caleb didn't want to keep building his businesses with his house hack, he could have retired at 21 and just been done. I mean, that's more than all of his expenses were covered. His cost of living was zero, except for food. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. His second deal or the second deal after that was a 26 unit that that was a project that we did together. 26 unit opportunity, and that one was direct to owner. And the one that he's doing right now, he's actually doing 3 deals. Those were from a broker who he met through an owner that he met. The owner, he is converted fully to the owner meeting method. It is superior, though you can do it either way. Have you bought from LoopNet or Crexy? Is it possible to get seller financing deals there? Absolutely. You can get a seller finance deal anywhere. LoopNet and Crexy. LoopNet is where deals go to die. I worked for LoopNet for 4 years. Sold the products. Great marketing. I mean, if your goal is to get visibility to your listing, they dominate. However, Crexy shows more listings because CoStar is about getting brokers to pay to get their listings to show up more. So you will see brokers you think their deal is going to sell, they'll market on there. Crexy is the superior place to look for a deal. The contact information is easier to find, and there are more deals available because they're not suppressing the listings like CoStar does. CoStar owns LoopNet, so Crexy is the place to go. And yeah, that happens all the time. Deals get stuck on market. You look at Crexy for something that's been around for 120 days, 150 days. If you can figure out why it's stuck, often getting creative on the financing is what gets the deal done. I have bought deals that way. We have people in the mentorship group who have bought deals that way. Crexy is a great place to find opportunities. Caleb's bought a deal that his relationships, his first 3, he found the broker on Crexy. One of them was the deal he called on. The other 2, he called on another deal. Actually, I literally teach how to do this in the course. This is like broker skills 101. Call on a deal that's interesting, but it's not necessarily the one you're going to buy. Build a relationship with the broker who lists those. He found brokers who sold him his other 2 deals. McAllen and Laredo was both from calling a broker on a different deal, building that relationship. They gave him a shot at these, and he seller financed both of them. Laredo, Texas, 8plex, seller financed. McAllen, Texas, 10 unit, seller financed. Manuel, what's the greatest objection you overcame with an owner call? All objections are the same. There's no other than like a legitimate thing, like wrong, like this is actually the wrong number, or they don't own the building, or they sold the building. Like if you're calling the wrong person, there's no overcoming that. That's not even an objection. That's just a like okay, technical error, party foul. Maybe this is because I'm a salesperson. I believe this. There are very few people who are naturally born salespeople. It is the main skill that I have, is that I can say something and I can hear in my head what the other person is probably thinking, and I can have that dialogue a few steps ahead, so that when I'm talking to someone, I can really just intuit. I see where this is headed. I know what I need to say. Not everyone can do that. So it's harder to teach because I think it's like 1% of the population happen to have that thing. It's like musicians with perfect pitch. However, the general rule of thumb, just remember, all objections are mostly the same. It's a smokescreen for I don't want to be here, or I don't have any money, or depending on what the product is. On an owner call, your objections are, if it's all versions of I don't have time, or I don't think you're credible. So it's, how'd you get this number? Why are you calling? I don't want to meet. That's something I get all the time. Oh, there's no reason to meet. I can, we can ask all the questions here. If I ask all my questions here, now I'm not going to build a relationship with this person. When I overcome those, I'm like, I absolutely can. I'm a little pressed for time right now. I just appreciate that you picked up. I want to meet owners here. My goal is to build relationships with people who are farther than me. I am in the market. I want to meet with you. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, look, it's gonna be a 5 minute thing. I'm not gonna force you to meet with me, but it's made a huge difference in my business, and it would mean the world to me if I can spend $10 buying you coffee. I rephrase it a few times. People always say yes. I've gotten there's one guy who won't meet with me. He would not pick up my phone call for a year, and he finally his name's Miguel. He's in Grant County, Washington. He finally called and was like, "Dude, I just didn't want you to offer to buy on my place." I'm like, "That's okay. I don't want to buy your place. I'm actually specifically on your place. I see you in eviction court all the time, and I'm really good at managing those. I actually was calling to see if I can have a shot at managing your properties because I own next to you all over Moses Lake and all over Ephrata." He's like, "Oh." He's like, "Not this year, but I actually want to transition out of it." He's like, "I'm going to give you a call." We struck up a relationship. I'm meeting with him next month. That's probably the hardest objection I've ever got through is I literally couldn't get him on the phone. And when I did, I mean, he did not want to talk. And then it turns out he's like, I'm tired of running these properties. I'm not interested in meeting. I'm like, dude, you're tired of running them. This isn't a transactional call. I want to meet people, but dude, I desperately want to manage your portfolio. And he's like, well, that is a different call than I was expecting. Let's talk. So you never know, but be persistent. And mostly when people throw up an objection, don't try to address their objection because they're not real. They're usually a smokescreen. Great book on this. Jordan Belfort, Way of the Wolf. Just go through that. Surprisingly, I think I have it back here. Way of the Wolf's in my backpack. This is a good one. I'm gonna grab it. Love him or hate him. He's polarizing. But our good friend, Uncle G, Grant Cardone, this is a fantastic book. Some of his closes in here are idiotic, and you should never use them for any reason. They're absolutely stupid. The beginning of this book talks about objections and pitch structure. The first, I'm going to say, let's see, where do the examples start? It's like the first 100-ish pages. Absolute gold. The Closer's Survival Guide, Grant Cardone. I will endorse almost any book this guy puts out. He puts out great books. Not everything he does is great. Books, he's got it down. Do you get builder's insurance? I do on the construction stuff. I get there's builder's insurance, construction insurance if I'm doing major renovations as part of my project. Yeah. Fun fact: builder's insurance does not cover frozen pipes from the roof's over 20 years old. That's how we got caught on the insurance on our one building. We had the coldest year in 50 years in Grant County. Those pipes they're not 50 years old, so they've never been tested at those temperatures. They did in fact fail and just wrecked the building. Calling brokers off correctly, do it all day long. The best place to meet owners, or sorry, meet brokers. Find the people who are already listing the type of inventory you want to. If you can come into those, it's flip flopped from the owner meeting. So owners, we're coming in just to build a relationship, and eventually there may be a point where they suggest this transaction, and then there's a transactional component. On brokers, they are salespeople. So you start with a transaction and you use that transaction to become a credible buyer and build a relationship. That, by the way, this isn't about selling a course, but that's why I filmed the course and put structure to this, because there is some actual like steps and nuance to go. How would one start with a transaction and build a relationship? And how would someone start with a relationship and build a transaction? Lots of practice. And that one is more of an art than a follow this rubric thing. We cover that a lot, but in a nutshell, that's what you're trying to do. You're going to call on the deal. You're going to ask intelligent questions. You're going to paint yourself as a ready, able, and willing buyer accurately, because you can close deals. We can all do this with or without money. And then we're going to ask questions that position ourselves to look into other deals that they may or may not have coming up. And then we're going to set some follow-up with them. Much more salesy when you're working with salespeople, which is what brokers are. Jonathan, if we find a deal in Texas, we'd be allowed to use your property management company. Yes, I'm expanding it, but we are going big on this. I mean, big, big, big. I'm starting in Stephenville. I'm then going to go Waco up to Weatherford, then Dallas. If you're in DFW, we can take it on by next month. I can take it on. If you are on I-35 as far south as Temple, I can take it on. After that, so that's my year one goal. So I want to do that in 2024, which is going to be insane. 2025, I'm going to go all the way down I-35, jump right over Austin because I'm not a huge fan of Austin. San Antonio all the way down to the border. So we're talking San Antonio, Laredo, McAllen. That is going to be our next hub. So we're going to go from the border all the way up to Dallas, jumping over Austin. That is the original plan. Somewhere in years 3 or 4, we'll probably cut across to Houston, and then we'll go ahead and connect. We'll have the full triangle. But I am pushing this company very, very hard. So depending on where in Texas, because there's a lot of Texas. But if you're anywhere in the greater DFW area, answer is yes. If you're in Waco, yes. If you're a little south of Waco, also yes. And give me another year or so if you're outside of there. Apex Asset Management. Got a super cool logo for it too. I'm against everyone who uses a building as your logo, but my designer did a really good job making the A. We put little windows in there. There's a blank space. I'll post it on Instagram at Christian Osgood. I'll post it there. You guys can give me feedback if I need to tweak it, but I'm excited. It's taking a while for owner relationships to get deals, or does he ask for them to sell properties? So this is back with Kale. It's taken a while for his ownership. Yeah, a lot of them take time. He's been working at these for 5 months, and they're starting to come to fruition now. The first one happened to happen on his first call. He called. He kept trying to book a meeting. The guy was like, I just really want someone to buy the building. He's like, yeah, I like to work with people I know. He tried a whole bunch of stuff to meet him, and the guy was like, you know what? I would love to meet you. Put an offer on this thing. And so he did, and then he got accepted, and then they met, and now they're really good friends. Caleb is over at his house a lot. He's friends with his, funny enough, Caleb's really good friends with that owner's kids, who are much older than Caleb. But they get together. They love them. They go to church together. Beautiful owner meeting that turned into an awesome friendship for Caleb. But that happened through a transaction. He reached out to them. I think he heard about the person's property on Instagram, called the guy, and the guy wouldn't meet until there's a transaction. So closed up the deal. Awesome story. A lot of owners in Texas, getting into assisted living. Any interest in that? No, not if I'm doing the assisted living. If it's third party, I like to stay in my lane. I've learned that, and everyone who is very successful knows how to stay in their lane. Entry level value add to mid, B class turnkey. That is my range. It's like I'll buy an F and turn it into a C plus B range property. Turnkey B, that's we get great terms on or a great price on. Love it. That's what I buy. The owner who Caleb bought the 25 unit from, that guy has next door, owns an assisted living. I have not offered on it, not interested. It's run by a third party company, but there's more going on, and I don't want to focus on anything that is not directly growing my property management company, my renovation teams, my entry level housing, because I really want to focus on providing housing to people who need it, and we're really good at doing it, where we come in with way nicer units than our competition at lower than market price. When your units are nicer and cheaper, you don't deal with vacancy, and you actually get to help fight homelessness. It means a lot to me, and we're good at it. So anything I do is going to push towards that end in my portfolio. Manuel, Cody moving away from the YouTube side of multifamily strategy and focusing more on the deal finding side of things. Yes, Cody has been less present on this channel. Some of you may notice that. I have taken over a majority, not all of, but a majority of the channel running. I love the teaching and coaching piece of this. Cody is focused on teaching in multifamily strategy. And then other than that, the big change is Cody temporarily this year has moved to Tennessee. So he is out in Tennessee. He will be back in Washington at the end of the year, but he is doing a 9-month hiatus over in Tennessee as his girlfriend recovers from a pretty major knee surgery, actually. So he is taking a break from the weekly production. In addition, the Multifamily Strategy podcast is getting a lot of a lot of the bandwidth of our channel. You guys may have noticed. I'm doing a lot of owner interviews, and the owner meetings is my specialty. I'm trying to bring that to you. That is a Christian Osgood specific project. So for the time being, while Cody is out of state, I am doing a vast majority of the operations of the channel, but we've never really addressed it. So I figured, the question's up there. We'll go ahead and click it, answer it, and handle it directly. Cody is temporarily living in a different state than me. As I move to Texas, we'll see how things pan out on the channel, but you will continue to see the same crazy amount of content, and I believe a lot more. Dylan, will you manage near Austin? I'm skipping Austin by a pretty good bit. There's a lot of property managers there, and yeah, not my main place. And then Dylan recognized I apparently already covered that. Are you guys still running your mentorship? Absolutely, we are. We are actually building out a lot there. I'm working on a whole nother section. Actually, Danny is going to be joining with more. My wonderful wife. We did the math. She makes more than me now in our companies because she's the one who handles all the renovation and the value add. What she brings to the company is actually worth more than me buying and finding deals, which is insane. She is amazing. She is filming 100 video series that we're including in the course for no additional cost. I just think it's awesome content, and we want to over deliver by as much as we can. So not only do Cody and I still coach the course together, and we're still 100% on board with like full speed ahead. In fact, I think Cody's paycheck just went out because I do approve the payroll for that company. We are both on board, but we are actually adding resources and adding members into that to push that harder. Xavier, do you help with closing deals with students of the mentorship? Do I help? Yes. Do I fund it? Absolutely not. My least favorite thing that I think any mentorship group can do, and you'll see these online. I would run away from these. They're like, we help you with funding. We will partner with you on the deal. Use our boilerplate documents for your contracts, like use our PSA or use our LOI template. Any of that is dangerous, stupid garbage. Here's why. If they're funding your deals, you are going to depend on them forever, and they are going to make money when they fund your deals. And there's nothing wrong with making money. But if you're teaching someone and profiting from them needing to learn from you, huge conflict of interest. There is one mission and one mission alone for multifamily strategy. Teach you how to buy deals and get you to run your own business the way you want to run it. If your goal is to get to $5,000 a month, and that's it. I want to build $5,000 a month passive income so that I can go on more vacations with my family. If that is your goal, we are going to work with you to build a plan to do exactly that so that you can do it yourself. I will coach you, and we guarantee this. It's a 6-month program. We will coach you until you buy a deal that cash flows at least $1,000 a month. And if you need more help past that, I don't put this in the guarantee. I've had people who've asked for more help, and I just keep helping them. If you're part of the program, all we care about is that you can, by yourself, buy a piece of real estate, learn from us until you can do that. I mean, that's it. It's super simple. There's so many programs where it's like, well, I have this lending product and you can join my capital partners and it's a guru cash grab BS thing. If they're offering you documents for your operating agreements and your offers or copy my contract, if you're going to do anything creative, you're going to have it reviewed by a lawyer. Do not use your mentor's contract that worked for their deals whatever state they're in. Those are the biggest red flags for me in any mentorship. So the short answer is all I do is help people in closing deals. Shannon, who's contributed a lot to this particular live, reviewed a deal with him and another mentee this week. It was a 20-minute call, just looking over their partnership structure. But it was a critical piece in closing a deal that absolutely deserves to be closed. So I think it's a good thing to note and look at. Do I help you? Yes. Do I do it for you? I would never do that to you. Dylan, I met an owner yesterday. He's going to fly me in one of his old-timey planes next time I'm in town. That is super fun. Don't crash. I had someone crash we had someone I used to work with actually crashed their old-timey plane fairly recently. So stay in the air in that plane, but that is super fun. I love those adventures. A lot of usually for me, it's a truck. The plane's kind of extra special. But I have a lot of people who you get to know an owner and you build a relationship with them. And we know we did it in Central Washington. Like, I know we're in when they're like, "Hey, after this meeting, do you want to hop in my truck and I'm going to drive you around my portfolio and tell you how I bought everything?" I've done that 5 times in Grant County. Every time it's, "You have a second to hop in the truck? I want to show you something." And you drive around the portfolio and you learn about their partners. You learn about the stories. You like, that's when you have made a relationship. Um, if they're going to fly around in one of their old timey planes, my instinct is that that is exactly what you want to be, what you want to be doing. Jonathan, can you assign a contract to your LLC to help with reserves if you're tight on money? Yes, we call this wholesaling to ourselves. I do this relatively frequently. If I have a deal where it is a stellar deal and I found it, it's seller financed. So I found it. I lined up almost all the capital, say 90%. So I'm bringing through seller financing, my negotiations are bringing us in 90% of the capital. And I found the deal and I'm running the contract and it's under contract in my name. And I'm going to be the one who primarily managed it. And my wife's going to coordinate the renovations. I am bringing a boatload of value to that deal. If you are the capital partner, it is completely acceptable for me to get an assignment fee to assign from my name to the LLC. And that is, they fund the LLC. The LLC gives me an assignment fee. You put it under, Christian Osgood and or signs. And at the time that the deal funds, that money comes over, you do it's exactly a wholesale fee. I am wholesaling to the LLC. I did a contract review on our last mentorship call, where we literally just pulled up a contract and ran through it for the 176 unit that I'm doing right now. It's actually 112 of those units was the one we went through. And you just go through like, okay, here's the deal. Here's the clauses. Notice it says on the top our name and or assigns. And we put a clause in there that says, because the seller doesn't want it just wholesaled to anyone, it says this will only be assigned to an LLC in which the individual is a member, which says, I'm not going to be the only partner on this, but I'm writing this up. I'm going to assign it to an LLC with some partners, and I have the right to do so. If there's a fee that you want to charge in there, that is totally your prerogative. Highest fee I've ever done for that is $50,000 because we bought like $300,000 under market value. Dylan, I've been in the truck 2.5 times. I don't know how you're in half a truck unless they just put you in the truck bed. We may need more clarity on that, but congratulations on that. Yeah, the truck drive, the plane ride, when they drive you around, they talk to you the portfolio. That means you're in the right places. Those are relationships that will yield opportunities down the road for you. And that's not why you do them. You don't just do them to get something. And I think that's when you're actually just doing it correctly and you're trying to build a relationship. That's when someone invites you out and takes you to the next level. Like, let's talk and let me show you my business. That's amazing. You're doing the right things. Finding a lot of people that are involved in development. I like development, but I don't think I should start putting time towards it. I agree. The best developer I know said this: buy rentals and pay them down. And out of the cash flow that you generate, you are now allowed to start developing. He builds a lot of his own buildings for himself. He makes a ton of money doing it. And when things get pinched or projects go long, he can fall back on his cash flow to carry him through. You can make an incredible amount of money developing, but developers are the richest people on planet Earth until they are not. It only takes one deal to tank you. So I would focus on building a base of cash flow so that you can do these higher risk, higher yield projects. And Lincoln, how do we enter your mentorship? Multifamilystrategy.com. There should be a link in here, but it's all over my YouTube page. If you go to the actual video notes, I usually put a link to my website in there. But multifamilystrategy.com. Check it out. We have a course and a mentorship. That is it. I will mentor you. I teach the calls, and it's 3 hours a week. It's 3 sessions. I challenge anyone to find me somewhere where I actually stayed within the hour that I'm supposed to teach on any given lesson. I give so much more in that course. I think so much more in that course of mentorship than we commit to, because again, it's just fun. I love watching people get through deals, and I've been through more than I think any reasonable person would put themselves through in the last few years. We have a lot to share on what to do, what not to do. Would love to have you there, Lincoln. You are invited. If you have any further questions on it, hit me up on Instagram at Christian Osgood. I'm happy to connect with you there as well. Emmanuel, what do you think, or what do you look for in the area you're buying, you're building your dream home? What? 'm sorry, I've read a lot of words here in the last hour, 24 minutes. What did you look for in the area you're building your dream home? I was looking for warm weather. I was looking for somewhere where I can afford to build the house of my dreams. It is not expensive to build in Texas, by the way. This house would cost $2.5 million in Washington State. It costs less than $1 million in Texas. It is insane to me. It is huge. So cost of living. I'm looking at where do I actually want to move my business. So business friendliness meant a lot. Washington State not business friendly. Texas very business friendly. So looking at the political leanings towards business owners specifically. That was really big for me. And then it's like another thing that you really look for Danny and I. I'm looking for like, okay, and then proximity to a church that we'd like to be a part of, and that was a huge thing for me. And there's one or two that I really like that are very very close to me. So I was like, okay, perfect. We got community, we got faith, we got business friendliness, we got weather, and as a bonus, they have fantastic food. Food in Texas is amazing. You will likely see a larger Christian the first few months I'm down there. Just the best guess. Let me check to see if we have any additional questions on Instagram here. We may or may not. No, guess we don't because I didn't hit the go live part of the actual video. So, oops. So yeah, we are streaming everywhere today, but Instagram. I didn't hit the button, so no questions there. Jake Martin's in the chat. Yo, Jake, good to see you, man. We have a few more questions here, but we're on the back end. So if you have additional questions, we're going to get through them as they come in. Next time I hit a stopping point, we'll call it for the day, but we probably have another 10 minutes here. So buckle on in. If you haven't yet, hit like, hit subscribe, and away we go. So how was your mindset when you went from duplex to 38 unit? Do you have any fears of it not working out? No. And here's why. My wife and I got together and I said, "Hey, this is personally guaranteed debt. If we're wrong, and we've definitely never done this before, I'm like, I'm really sure we're right on this deal. But if we're not, we could lose our house." She's like, "Okay, well, when we got married, we didn't have a house and then we bought one. So we definitely know that that is something that we can do. So if we lose this, we just need to find somewhere to have a roof over our head. Can we figure out how to rent somewhere?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay." She's like, "I would rather," me and her on the same page. "I would rather move forward and risk everything because there's nothing that I have that is worth keeping." That's just us. If you're a family with kids and you built your dream home or you have this home that you love and you're not willing to part with it for whatever your goal is, if like, hey, status quo is really important to me, don't risk your house in your investments. I mean, that's the mindset. So for me, I'm like, what am I? And this is a joint thing. When I say I mean we, like as a married unit. What did Danny and I want to do as a couple? Are we willing to risk everything to get there? And the answer for us was yes. So there wasn't really any stress. Today, I have built a much bigger business. What I built today, hundreds of rentals, multiple companies. Am I willing to risk starting over again? I don't want to build that twice. That was really hard. Can I do it again? Yeah. Do I want to do it twice? Absolutely not. We have a great base now, but hate to lose it. If I did though, fear or stress, non-factor. How you feel in business, facts don't care about your feelings. Um, Fear is meant to keep you alive in like hunter-gatherer times. Fear is a natural thing that literally has no application in business at all. Zero use. Your flight or fight, your lack of sleep, your adrenaline. Adrenaline does not help you pitch better. It doesn't help you think better. It helps you physically. Business is done in here. Um, when I realized that, I stopped stressing and I don't have fear. If you're not wired like that, just keep that in mind. Be cognizant of it. Like, is this moving me forward? Um, doesn't mean don't be careful. Just I wasn't scared. There is a break point. This is the last thing I'll say on this. Buying a 38 was the first time I'm like, I can't earn my way out of this. I can earn enough money. And I know this as a sales rep because I've done it. I can sell enough product pretty much anywhere to pay for if my tenants moved out of the 2 duplexes I had and my house. Christian can pay the mortgage on 2 duplexes in a house. I know I can earn that money. I've done it before. So we weren't worried about that. 38 units, if that went up, all the tenants left, I cannot support the mortgage of a multi-million-dollar property on top of what I already had. After I got over that, every other deal I do, I'm still in the same position. I can't just go get a job and earn my way through this. I do, in fact, have to succeed in business. Ooh, I'll double check the numbers here. I think I'm $32 million of real estate. So I'm probably sitting somewhere around $20 million of debt right now. In the next 2 months, I'll be taking on another 8 million. Um, I can't out earn that at any job that I am currently aware of. Paying off $28 million of debt would be nearly impossible. And that was the mindset shift. I think for people, when you go to the leave the 9 to 5, when you own enough real estate where you couldn't earn your way through it if you were wrong, you go bankrupt there, or you go bankrupt on $1 billion on real estate, you're in the same place. So fear doesn't get any higher with more dollar amounts past what you can earn. I know I answered that question like way too much, but I had a lot of thoughts. I think about that a lot today, and I get asked that question a lot. It's a good question. No, I think motel conversion is a big thing I can do in my markets. There's just some extra weight on doing. Hotel conversions are awesome, and if you can find one, I have a few people. There's another guy in the mentorship who's under contract on a motel conversion right now. Funny enough, in Texas, um, his name's Matt, and he's actually a boutique hotel guy. So he is actually doing like that's what he does. He does boutique hotels. So he's going to turn it into a dumpy motel into a nice hotel run Airbnb style, and he can do that really profitably. The other way you go with it is my way, which is you standardize all the units, you add kitchenettes, and you stabilize the income by turning them into multifamily. Either conversion is a valid thing depending on your skills as an operator. And you can get crazy prices on these. I mean, ludicrous prices on some of these mismanaged hotels or motels where people just want out. I think it's a huge opportunity. You're in the mentorship group, walk through it with me, with the team, post about it regularly on the Facebook page. And yeah, if you find a motel conversion, those ones just win ludicrously on price because you can get these things at crazy prices if they're mismanaged. Do you think real estate is hard to get into? Yes. Your first deal is usually really hard. And everyone I have on the Multifamily Strategy podcast, basically everyone in real estate, your first deal takes time because you don't have experience, you don't have the relationships. And once you close once, your next deal comes faster. And after you get 2 deals done, it is like clockwork. You're like, oh, I have the muscle for this. I can do this again and again and again and again. That is why earlier I said, do I help people close? Yes. But do I fund them or do I hold their hand through everything? Absolutely not. I will make you self-sufficient at a deal. That is all I care about doing. That we have no other purpose. Multifamily strategy has literally no other purpose. You must buy real estate deals. And it's like what? Mentorship, I think it's $5,000 mentorship. If I don't save you hundreds, if not millions, and oh, I structured a deal differently and this saved me a ton of money, I have totally failed. The whole goal is to put you in a structured environment and to build that team and that environment and that community so that you don't make huge mistakes. It is super hard to get into. It is also very simple to get into. It is a very simple game to play, but it does take time. It takes dedication, and there's actual practice. Like there's skills that you need to learn, like any job. If you get good at this, it is insane how much money the people who are good at this make. And real estate has traditionally been the largest wealth generation tool for people forever. So easy to get into? Absolutely not. Simple to get into. One of the most simple things to learn, I think, of any industry. And once you build the muscle for it, and you know what you're doing. I've seen people build incredible businesses at all ages. Do you guys use scripts? I have a few loose scripts. I think over scripting is very dangerous, that you come off salesy, but I have bullet points. Jordan Belfort's book, Straight Line Selling, Way of the Wolf. That is a fantastic book. And the scripting method in that is exactly what I do. You put down the points, the core points that you need to pull them back to. Because when you have a conversation, people will spiral off or pull you different directions or throw objections. Anytime you fall off of that line, you know how to just redirect them to the next thing. So I have set points, which I guess you would call a script. of we need to hit these things to go from hello, this is my name to they are sold that I am a ready, able, willing buyer of this piece of real estate. We do map out that line. I do have scripts for that. Those are downloadable in multifamily strategy. I have a ton of content on owner scripting, how to run the meeting, the phone call, and broker scripting. I have 5 steps for that. If you follow those 5, but have a conversation like a human. But if you hit those 5 points in order, your conversations with brokers are going to be astronomically better. So I do use scripts, but I use them in the way that Jordan Belfort uses scripts, which is they are touch points on a conversation. I do not script out everything that you should say because that doesn't work. Lincoln, I'm 18, living in Southern California. Got about $4,000 saved up, unsure on how to start investing. I am almost done with my real estate license because it felt like a good place to start. Feedback for everyone, and it's fine. There's only one reason to be a broker. Here's the different ways to make money in real estate. If you are an amazing salesperson and all you want to do is sales, go ahead and be a wholesaler because you can make a bunch of cash and it's quick cash and your sales skills. If that's all you're doing, if it's just sales skills, the highest monetization of your skills is wholesaling, not brokering. If you are a reasonable sales skills, but you're good at sales, but you're amazing at customer service and follow up, and you're detail oriented, that's the paperwork piece. So strong sales, but customer service, nurturing sales, become a broker. You can make a ton of money and you can invest in deals. You can invest along the way. I know a lot of brokers who own a good deal of real estate. If you're not a service person or your goal is not to be a broker, don't be a real estate agent. Your license will not help you in real estate. You might save a few points on commission here or there. When I dropped my broker's license, I did the same thing. I got the license and I was like, wait a second. What am I going to do with this? I don't want to be a broker. I just wanted to learn more about real estate. I didn't learn much about real estate. When I stopped brokering deals, I bought an extra 100 rentals a year. I just became a real estate investor. That's what I want to do. If you're a systems and operations person, you have big vision or you're trying to build passive income, become an investor. If you love the active income, you're amazing at sales, be a wholesaler. That's not me. I don't coach wholesaling because I don't want the employees. I don't want the overhead. I don't want the marketing gamble of, hey, we're going to spend $200,000 to make $400,000. Hope this works. But if you thrive on that, be a wholesaler. If you are a great nurturing salesperson who likes a longer sales cycle, reasonable commission, and a lot of customer service, broker could be you. I am super impatient. I should never have gotten a broker's license. That was foreseeable. But that's how that works. What can you do to start? Find people. They could be owners. They could be business owners. I mean, find people who are playing the game, who have done the thing that you want to do, and just get around them. My first mentor, horrible business owner, awful, zero business ethics. I mean, F minus 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 for ability to run a business. His creative finance mind was genius, and his ideas for business as a visionary. I have yet to meet someone who is as interesting to have a conversation with. I learned so much. I mean, not just what not to do in business. I did learn those, and those were really valuable. I watched him fail spectacularly. And I watched other people lose money alongside him because of his lack of ethics. I learned a lot on how I want to run my business better and differently, but I also learned a lot of amazing things from him for what he was doing right with creative deal structure, ways to move capital, how to fund your vision, starting with the deal first. A lot of these things I got was just because I left my job and I worked I brought my salary from $250,000 to $50,000 a year to work for this guy just to get the knowledge that was in his head. And it worked. I learned creative finance from him. I got a crash course on how to blow up a business and completely run everything incorrectly. So I didn't do those things. Super valuable. But if you are young, that is the best thing you can do is find someone in the market that you want to invest in who's doing the things that you want to do and just get around them. It is life changing. Even though I don't like the guy, life changing decision. That $200,000 loss in salary was the dollar per dollar. That was the cheapest education I ever got. If you look at the return that I got on that investment, that was incredible. So I would focus on that. above all things. Dylan, what cap rate do you aim for on motel conversion? Totally market dependent. Couldn't even begin to answer that. That will depend completely on market. And I don't aim for specific cap rates. Cap rate doesn't matter, especially on a value add project. Whatever the cap rate is today, it's going to change throughout your project. Market cap will tell you your valuation. I know that in Grant County, I'll probably be valued on a 9 cap for hospitality. If you can do the conversion to multifamily, you're going to get valued closer to a 7. So you get more value if you can do the rezone. But if you still just get the income up and stabilize the asset, you get a crazy amount of cash flow. So if it's buy and hold, especially if it's super long term, cap rate matters even less because market cap rates will change. I'm looking for how much cash flow can I get on this? How much upside is in the deal? The actual the cap rate of the deal. Usually their cap rates are trash because you have a mismanaged motel. If you're changing the use, their cap rate it doesn't even matter. How do you make sure you're not wasting time? I waste no time thinking about, am I wasting time? If that makes sense. Someone wants to meet. I don't know what's going to come out of this. I will go ahead and meet them. The things that I do to make sure I'm not wasting time, though, is if you look at my calendar, I'll show you. My time is well blocked. See if you guys can see this. Monday, I put little breathers between things because I am the CEO. This is stupid that I did this, but I'm the CEO of 2 of my companies. And then I'm also I have 4 companies. One of them I'm the chief operating officer of. I run all the companies and the employees. I put little gaps in things because I know someone will come in and need to contact me and fill my time. So what you're seeing there, 100% full. I'm going to go the next day. Next day. Full day. Today. I gave myself time to catch up on stuff. My live is there. We're right here. I have 10 calls that I need to make today. But by blocking my time and color coding my time consistently, there's Thursday. Friday, I left myself room to catch up. That block is going to be 1000% full, but that is me time to get done with paperwork and taxes and moving to Texas stuff. When I block my time like that and color code my time, a lot of it is saying, I'm going to spend this much time on this company. And it's free time, but it's this time, this day, everything is off my plate, but that one thing. Starting property management in Texas, I have time for Apex on my calendar every single week, same time. I don't care what's coming at me. I'm not taking any meetings. I'm not taking any calls. I'm not prospecting. I'm not fundraising. I am working on whatever that company needs. It is free time, 100% dedicated there. I have that for all of my companies, and then I have specific meetings with people. If it's a person, if it's a human connection, it's always important. Doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if I'm wasting time there. I don't take long meetings. But I'm going to spend 30 minutes, or I usually block an hour for each person. They're going to get all of me for that hour. No exceptions. I am fully locked in for that hour. And that keeps you from wasting time. If you're always locked in what you're doing, you're not going to waste any time. I hope that answers your question well. Jonathan, is there a way to join the mentorship if we completed your course? Yes. If you have completed the course, there is actually a place within the course where you can upgrade. Because the course is included in the mentorship, I don't do any of the stupid stuff that people do where there's some premium. You just pay the delta. You pay $2,000 for the course. It's $3,000 to get the mentorship. They just segue right into them. It's within the course on the Mighty Networks network. You can upgrade to the course. If you need a external link, like you have it, but you lost your login or whatever, first of all, I can reset your login. So you can purchase it in the mentorship section of the course. You can just upgrade and unlock it. If you need help, DM me on Instagram at Christian Osgood. I will absolutely dive in there and help you out. 100% I will help you out. How do you call owners if you don't have a story and not sure how to use resources? Okay. Everyone has a story. We have something, and this is going to be the first module in the course. It's called the circle drill, or first or second module. I think we have rules of real estate. Then you get into the circle drill. You're going to map out relatable points. What are things that I've been through? So it could be I went to college. I didn't go to college. A lot of people on my podcast, when I bring them on, their first thing is hey, I immigrated to America. We've had so many successful owners who came from another country for opportunity and slayed it in real estate. Map out those pieces. Family was an immigrant. I was an immigrant. I grew up. I grew up in a rich family and didn't understand the value of money until X happened. You have a story. Your job is to be able to communicate that story. So you map it with relatable points, with a clear goal of where you're headed and why you are headed there, the significance behind it. We do a whole module on how to map it and then how to communicate it to people. Very important, but you absolutely have a story. That is your resource. For Caleb Hommel, perfect example. What story does he have? He graduated high school and went into the mentorship program and then bought real estate. Like what's the backstory there? He just put out like, hey, I did a semester of college. It wasn't for me. I dropped out. I have this dream of buying real estate, and I'm 18. What the heck would I? How would I do this? I want to meet with owners who played the game. That was his. That was his conversation. His asset was, I'm too young to have a story, but I do have a vision. Do you know how many entrepreneurs relate to that? They're like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was young, or I wish I started when I was younger. If I had started when I was your age, absolutely I'll meet you. It doesn't even have to be a good reason, just a true reason. But yeah, map your story out. That's so important to do. Really spend the time to map it because you need to be able to communicate it in 45 seconds or less to another human. When you say find the owners, how do you talk to them? I call them. Everyone's contacts available in Google Maps. And if it's not, find someone who knows how to find them. Like that's what I do. Meet with the owners. Find the person who owns the building. It's quite easy to do online. You're not going to get all of them for free, but 9 out of 10 you can find on Google for free. The rest of them, you ask the other people how to contact that guy, and you get in front of them. But once you find them, you call them. You share that relatable point. You share what you're trying to do, your goal, and you talk to them a little bit about their business. There should be a 3 to 5 minute call. Do not get in a long conversation. End it by asking for a meeting. Then you meet them and you go through the circle. They're not. You go deeper into the circle drill and more mapping their circle drill for the owner meeting. I just redid the modules in the course, I think 2 months ago for this. I thought they were good before. They're better now as I've given more speeches on this and just done more of them. I map it out as granularly as here is how you engage in small talk for those who don't know. And here is what a verbal agenda is. It's not a schedule, but here's how you set the tone for the meeting and eliminate stress. And here is an opener for a conversation. I map out the whole thing. I think it's about 10 videos. Do hotels converted sell at the same as normal apartments? Yes, they do. If it's rezoned converted to multifamily, it will sell at the same. If it is a motel run as multifamily, it'll be valued as a motel. But it will sell somewhere between motels, and if it's cash out, the bank's going to look at it, so it'll sell at motel prices. If you can get creative on the terms, you usually get a little premium because it has premium on the revenue that it brings in. Do I meditate or anything like that? One, I pray. And that is very important. If you are dealing with stress, trying to figure out your business, and you haven't found God yet, I recommend you do so immediately. That is a big one. In addition to that, though, I do take time to sit and just think. There is time. I have a tiny little sauna. It's a little box, really. But in my little sauna box, I sit in there and I spend I just think about what I'm working on. So it's thinking about the business, thinking about a contract, thinking about an investor relationship. I do take time to be intentional. When I do a lot of meetings or I have a busy day, that time where I go, what were the lessons here? That's how I can run stuff like this. Like I can go live for hours any day. I can just talk. You can put me on stage anytime. I can just talk. That ability was gained by getting actionable takeaways from everything that you do. And so that's one of the big things that I spend a lot of time on. I really, really, really focus on doing that. And meditation and prayer have been both for separate reasons and the same reasons. I believe everyone should do that. I used to think it was kind of the hippie thing. We're like, oh, let's take this time to meditate and breathe. And then I was like, oh no, that is you have to do that. I'm gonna add one more thing to this. People who don't meditate, I can notice. I don't know how else to put this other than your thoughts are loud. I can tell by the way you ask questions or you people will over communicate. They have a million thoughts running through their head, which I get. I do that too. But there is a different clarity that you have on things when you have spent actual time thinking through everything. People who think versus people who act are different. If you don't take time to think whatever that looks like for you, quiet time to not do things and just process, um, you need to learn how to meditate, whatever it looks like for you. Lincoln, give me a lot to think about. Feeling lost in life and learning about real estate is exciting, gives me direction. Really want to learn deals. Thanks for answering the question. Lincoln, you are very welcome. Sorry you're feeling lost in life. I feel like a lot of people are there. There's times where I feel a little, feel a little lost. Real estate is something that really it keeps my attention. I'm a board game player. I don't know if we can go too far down in this thing. On my shelves here below me, we can see them from here. Board games. I have a whole closet to the right full of board games. I am building a board game room in my house. Yes, I am building for those wondering, I am building a secret bookshelf that actually moves aside into the secret game room. It's a dream of mine. Real estate plays like a board game. Bunch of rule books, a bunch of different plays, different strategies. You have an actual map. You have a literal board that you play on where you get different pieces and you have different resources to manage. Real estate plays like a board game, it's just how it works. Real estate for me has been meditative. It has been, of course, financially lucrative. I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to this channel. I have made a lot of money doing it, but it's because I actually truly love the game. I had someone on the podcast recently. Episode will come out pretty soon. It was a weird interview. They do not like real estate. They just make money in real estate. I thought it was the most boring sounding existence of all time. I love what I do. If you are excited about real estate, I'm glad. It is a fun game. Remember to treat it's serious, especially with other people's money. Treat it with respect, but take time to enjoy the game. Jonathan, always happy to contribute. This is the most fun piece of what I get to do. It still blows me away that you guys attend here and listen to me say words. I will keep going through things and having adventures and talking to all of you and meeting with owners because I get to come back and I get to share the findings with this community and we get to connect here. So thank you everyone for doing that. Dylan says check out the course. Dylan, thank you for the recommendation. I think you guys should. Multifamilystrategy.com. Check it out. I want more people there. I'll leave it at that. I will help you buy real estate. How do you sustain your business while having a W-2? Funny enough, I left my W-2 so that I can start a multitude of companies, many of which, while I am the owner and CEO, CEO is my W-2 salary. For those who think I'm retired, you guys are stupid. I am not retired. I work multiple jobs. I outwork most people quite brutally. I do not recommend starting as many companies as I did. It's just the pieces that I have now. I just work. The only way that I've found to make this happen is when you are in a position where you can leave your job, do. And that could be you're at a certain amount or you're a certain amount of confidence. And a bunch of people have a bunch of different rules for when it's time to leave the W-2. I actually put some thoughts on it in the course, but the answer is mostly up to you. When you are comfortable and ready to leave the 9 to 5, do so. Until then, focus up. You have more hours in the day than you think. If you're like, hey, I think I work really hard, but I do watch, 3 episodes of Netflix a night. Stop doing that until you hit your goals. If you eat out, go to movies, drink, party, stop doing that. When I was trying to build business, I still don't, but I stopped drinking altogether. I've never drinking heavily, but I just cut alcohol out and I'm like, oh, wait a second. I sleep better now. If I sleep better, I'm more rested. If I'm more rested, I can focus better. And I sleep a little bit less because I get deeper rest. I now have more time, more focused time, things like that. You can find more time in your day. I'd focus. So like, how do I sustain business? I get good sleep. I work out. I've always done that. Even if it's just playing pickleball. It's not like I'm trying to like look amazing and I move consistently. For me, I don't drink. That's totally up to you. That's not the make or break, but boy, did it make a difference for me. And I've defined my goals. So it's like, is it important enough to you? If it's important enough to you, then you'll make it happen. This is an interesting one. I don't answer a ton of personal questions on here. How long do I pray? I don't know that I've ever given thought to it. To me, that's to me that question's like, how long do I speak to my wife? Um, like I talk to God when I have something to talk to God about, which is daily. When things happen, I had a deal recently. This is tying it back to real estate. I had a deal recently where it was one where we had signed over a property to get out of the insurance thing. It was like we won, but it didn't feel like a win. And then so we sold a property on an option agreement, and they reneged on the option, and we were able to renegotiate a deal that put us in a way better position. The first thing I did, I was like, the extent that God cares about the specifics of my business, I have no idea. But still grateful for the position I'm in. So we just took time. Like I just stopped and said thank you. That took 10 seconds. There's times where I have things that I'm going through personally that take hours. Um, Hard to say on prayer, but I think it's like I believe that faith is about a relationship with God, and like owner meetings, I'm trying to keep this. I'm trying to keep this business centric. Like the owner meetings or like relationships with anyone else, it's a relationship. You talk when you have things to talk about, and you don't force things, and it's real. So it's an interesting thought. More practically applicable as far as like action steps, meditation I try to do for 30 minutes a day. I reflecting on that, I've sucked this week at that. That event this weekend totally threw me off my rhythm. I'm just working every second. I will do that tonight. Meditation, 30 minutes every day, same amount of time. Block it out, make it happen. If you can do that one, that will help a lot. What's the 176 unit looking like you're working on? That is a deal in Texas. Two deals, 112 and a 64. Tons of vacancy. They cash flow day one with 42 vacancies. I am an expert at leasing. Entering into due diligence. So I'm going to do the due diligence on these. And with that due diligence, if we find that the problems are what I think they are, which is they are trying to lease $200 over market rent, and the deal works fantastically if I rent $200 less than they're trying to lease at. They have a family member running it. If I analyze these deals and believe that I can outmarket to them and I can lease up these buildings at $200 less than they are being leased at, I can fix the vacancy problem and we make about $4 million. It's a $2 million capital raise. We make a lot of money and the cash flow stabilized is very, very high. I mean, for context, yeah, cash flow is weak day one, but I have positive income on 42 vacancies. So that's what those look like. How many hours do you work a day? I wake up at 8 and I stop working at around 9. So 13 hours. Almost like clockwork every day. I have my set pieces of my day, and then I do my actual parts where I do the paperwork, the writing, the recording for YouTube, the scripting for the channel, meet with the marketing team, meet with each of my leaders of every company daily. So that's my director of PM for both PM companies. That is my sales and marketing director. That is my direct partners. That's Cody Davis. That's my wife, Danny. We're meeting regularly. I coach mentees throughout the day. I was asked for 24-hour notice, but I'd make it a priority when someone needs help on a deal. Like I am there. It is me. That's like a quick thing. That's if nothing comes up. We also run events. There's a lot. On average, 13 to 14 hours a day is what I work. I usually take a good chunk of Sunday off. Sunday, I shoot for no more than 4 hours. Sometimes I get away with 2. So like 6 days a week at like 13, 14 hours a day. I don't think most people should do that. Don't emulate me. I'm competitive and neurotic, and I freaking love what I do. The goal is not to have more work for most people. So I would say don't emulate that. But if you want to know what the day looks like, I mean, legitimately, that's what I do. I wake up, first thing I do is like roll out of bed, get coffee, say a prayer, run through the day, get caught up with meetings, get through the texts, and at any given moment, I probably have 100 unread emails and 40 texts. I hired an assistant who goes through all of my emails and texts and sends me a separate text on which text I need to read and respond to, and helps me cover the rest. It is insane. I am too busy. You tell Cody that I no longer have an Instagram and to contact me back, please. Yes. Um, I will let Cody know. Matt, how important was saying no to things at the beginning of your REI journey? I feel like most people get too scattered with opportunities, assets, strategies. Yeah, if I said no to the Robinhood, I would. This is painful. I just did the numbers on this. If we said no to the Robinhood Village Resort, Cody and I would have about what was the number? I think it's about $1,300,000 more of cash, because that is the amount that is taken to cycle through things. Now, the Robin still makes a lot of money. The equity position is fantastic, but the hits to immediate liquidity for the payoff on an 8-year note, which we are less than 2 years into, that's really expensive. Delayed gratification was the wrong call there. I would love to have my half of like $1.3 million in bonus liquidity. The speed I'd get through the projects that I like more, that I'm good at, would have been, that's life-changing money. That's a 7 figures is a chunk of change. So saying no to that would have been very important. We purchased that at the end of our first year of partnership. My ability to say no now saves or makes us a lot of money. We had a negotiation. We had a really tense negotiation. We were going through that failed option agreement I was talking about. Every time they countered, my answer was no, that's not going to work. And they pushed and they pushed and they pushed. And then they'd say yes. And they call back the next day and like, I don't want to sign this. I want more interest. And they'd push and they'd push. And the answer is no. And what happened? I got exactly what we needed. It was fair to everyone, but I got what I needed. Had I given in, we would have been hosed. Cody is very good at saying no. I have had to develop the ability. If I am not interested, the answer is no. If I don't feel like negotiating, the answer is no. If someone wants to fight about something, the answer is no. Because I work 13 to 14 hours a day, I don't have time for BS. I do the things I prioritize, which is why I block out a healthy amount of time for going live. I think this time on Wednesday, I give as much as I can, because giving back to the community, one, is important. And two, this is where I have the most fun. When we build community, I love hopping into the Facebook group and seeing people have done the deal. They're going through a renovation project. Someone's partnered up in funding. I love that stuff. I love hopping on the mentorship group and having someone who's like, hey, I found you on this live and I joined your community, and getting to meet people face to face. That gives me joy. And I think it gives deeper meaning to the game. And so this is where I spend my time. People pitch me all the time on doing other events, other times, other courses. And the answer is just no. It's a distraction. Everyone needs to learn that. How do you find what is super important? I think first, almost going back a little bit on what I said on this last question, the things that are super important, you'll learn more about yourself, I think, when you are at the beginning of your journey. Given a lot of thought to this last 3 days. Beginning of your journey, intellectually, I think you should be a little selfish. You should think about yourself and your skills and your opportunities. That gets you from I earn $50,000 a year to I earn a couple $100,000 a year. I'm focused on building me. And then you hit a point where you're making a couple 100,000 and it starts to shift to, what am I not good at and how can I build this with other people? Like, what opportunities can I learn to grow with other people? And so you're going to focus on that. And you start to look outside more. And then to get to the next level, what I keep hearing is like, you need to drop your ego and you need to be able to remove yourself from your business without emotion and allow it to grow and expand without you controlling everything. Um, but you don't learn what's super important unless you try things and have some adventures. I did too many adventures. When you have success, double and triple down. But in your case, Dylan, you've talked about doing a motel conversion. Don't force it, but if you find one, it's like, oh, maybe I get really good at this. And you find one, you close it, and you go. If you find an eightplex on market, and you're like, oh, value add multifamily, I have an opportunity, and you find it and you like it and you're good at it, then like keep growing that. But I think you find what's super important by doing things and being around people who inspire you and doing the types of projects that you think that you want to do. And then you get to learn more about yourself and you adjust. Something to be said about the Robin Hood, while it would have been way better if I didn't do it. One, I had to go out and earn the 1,000,003 that I didn't think I'd have to earn. That made me have to be better at business or to fail. We've never earned that before. And we went out and we did it. Mostly through flipping deals that I would have rather held on to, unfortunately. That's the opportunity cost. But we did reno projects. We got really good at these. We got the value up because we had to be great operators. Like the money that we are using to correct mistakes or to fix things in real estate or to expand or to buy out partners, it doesn't come from any other business but the real estate. It's from cash flow. It's from a cash out refi, or it's the sale of an asset. I had to build my real estate business to enough to correct from adventures that I shouldn't have had. And yeah, it's big. And then comparing it to meditation, you do the things and then you think about the things and you take away lessons. Too many people go through life and you do the same stupid stuff again and again and again, and it's just painful. You are allowed to make any mistake once, and some of them are going to really suck, but you are allowed to make mistakes. I tell my employees this. You have to make a decision, and it doesn't have to be the right decision. But I need you to make a decision as a leader in my company. I cannot hold your hand and make decisions for you. I need decision makers. If it's the wrong decision, that is fine. If it's the same wrong decision twice, that is not okay. That's where people start getting fired. When you can make a huge mistake. Absolute forgiveness. Unless it's like, an ethics thing or harassment or, for the most parts, you can make mistakes in business. But if you make the same mistake in business, you didn't learn your lesson. And I have no tolerance for that. Meditation is important for that. Do you pay lenders any type of fees like a normal agency lender? Yep. Not private lenders. Like if an individual is investing with me, oftentimes they pay me to invest with me. We talked about that earlier in this call with the wholesaling to yourself thing. But for lenders, yeah, you always pay fees. And there's private money you're going to pay like private lender where you're not just raising direct to an individual, but it's like a hard money lender. The fees are astronomical. 3% on my last one of a couple $1 million. Do lenders see price quotes that come in to request for capital reserve? Some do. Sometimes you have a draw when you're pulling in, like they hold your money separately. That's usually when you have a construction project. The way that I've raised all of mine, I get all the money up front. Do I still read? Yes, mostly on planes and in travel, which I do a lot of for speaking. I do a lot of audiobook because I do drive a lot around, or drive around a lot for meetings and drive around to my portfolio. So I do a lot of audiobook, but when I can, I do sit down and read, especially on airplanes. And I'll go through phases where I'm like, I'm really trying to learn something. I get a bunch of books on it. And I just dive right in. And then once I have the focus, then, I go, I have what I came for. I go to the next thing. What skills do you develop early that have helped you in business? The ability to speak about anything. I don't care what it is. You can put anything in front of me. I can speak about it competently and convincingly for 8 minutes. Miss Danny, am I needed? For her? Well, that sounds like we are out of time. We're 2 hours in. We have a few more questions, which I appreciate. I'm going to go ahead and answer whatever Danny is working on, because that sounds like there's some amount of urgency there. So I'm going to go back to that long workday. Everyone, thank you for joining this episode, and apologies for the abrupt ending. If you have more questions, feel free to ask them on Instagram. I'm going to post to the story a prompt to actually ask some of your questions there so we can preload these lives. But thank you so much for joining today's episode. We will talk to you guys all on the next episode.